The problem with the expectations set by Sean Payton, and there's nothing wrong with high expectations in the room, in the locker room, and the standard of excellence. But when you start telling everyone in the national media, our Super Bowl window's opened, I've been on 6 Super Bowl kind of caliber teams, this is the 7th, like all that kind of stuff, it makes everybody a little bit tight. It makes it not much fun to go to work when things aren't going perfect and you don't look like a Super Bowl team. Broncos haven't looked like a Super Bowl team the last 3 weeks. You know how it is right now at the facility? It sucks.
Hello, and thank you for joining us here on Broncos and Bourbon. I am your host, Phil Milani. Very excited about today's episode as former Broncos wide receiver and tight end Nate Jackson joins the program. Look, let's face it, this is a huge game for the Broncos. They've lost 2 in a row on the final play of the game. Now they're back at home, Monday Night Football. You got the Cincinnati Bengals coming to town without Joe Burrow. And oh yeah, by the way, next week, the Broncos face the defending Super Bowl champs, the Philadelphia Eagles. So this game, for a game that's in week 4 of the season, it's about as must-win of a game as that possibly could be. Okay, let's put it that way. So this is a big game for the Broncos, and Nate Jackson does an exceptional job breaking this one down. Really some good thoughts on Bo Nix and why this Broncos offense has struggled through the first 3 weeks of the season. And Nate has some ideas on how maybe they can incorporate some simpler game plans and, have Sean Payton commit to the run a little bit more. And maybe he thinks that things will start to sort of right themselves here for the Broncos offense. So you'll make sure to stick around and hear what he has to say about that. But plenty of really good stuff from Nate. He shared an exciting Bill Walsh story that I've never heard before. So I thought that was pretty cool. And we get into a bunch of other different things here on this episode. So if you enjoy the conversation, please like and subscribe as we continue to grow the Broncos and Bourbon channel. And I also did want to mention that we'll be live once again on Monday night after the Broncos game, breaking it all down here on the Broncos and Bourbon channel. So make sure after the game, after Monday Night Football, you check out the channel because we'll be live with all kinds of post-game analysis. So with that, here is my conversation with Nate Jackson. Nate, thank you so much for taking some time to join the program here, man. How you been?
Been pretty good, man. Football season is upon us, so it's exciting. Lots to do. I got a couple of kiddos running around, including a 1-year-old girl who's, getting into everything. And so, between all those things, I'm plenty busy. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, man. Same. My daughter just turned 1 this past weekend, so
nice.
Yeah, we're in a similar boat here, man. That's why I see you at the playground sometimes. Yeah, we could talk Broncos there.
Yeah, I know.
Well, hey, I've been loving what you guys are doing over there with Guerrilla Sports. You and Jake chopping it up. I thought the breakdown of the Chargers game, that was a lot of good stuff there.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm doing a show called The Cold Tub with Jake Plummer on Mondays, and then on Wednesdays we're doing a show called The Walkthrough, where we kind of go out on the field and go over some of these principles and some of these things that happen on the field and that a lot of people yap about in the studio, but it's really a lot easier to go out on the field and kind of show some of it. And Jake has just tons of experience, and now he's coming out of his shell, and he's just kind of it's just flowing out of him. So it's pretty fun. I'm also doing a show with Eric Goodman called Going Deep on Monday and Thursday. So that's just more of a kind of a traditional studio Broncos show.
Oh man, so you're really busy, okay? Yeah, you were downplaying it.
But it's good. Well, busy's better than bored.
That's true. That's true. That's very true. I was talking about this Broncos team here, 1-2 through 3 games. Lost the last 2 on the final play of the game. But just watching this team, how would you sum these first 3 games up for the Broncos?
Yeah, I think a little disappointing. The Broncos were hoping they were in a better position here. But I think there's some silver lining in those 2 losses. It's that you didn't play your best football and you were still in a position to win right at the end there. I think, those last 2 games, they never trailed in the fourth quarter. So to lose on last-minute kicks like that, it's heartbreaking, but also you got to pay attention to the fact you did some things right to put yourself in those positions. You just have to learn how to close it out. And I think that, just begs the question as to whether or not you can learn to win those close games or if that's just who you are. And I think the Broncos need to find that out.
Yeah, they definitely they were doing things in those fourth quarters that ended up costing them the game.
Yeah.
And good teams just don't make those mistakes.
Right. They don't. And but good teams do make mistakes, and the difference is that you find a way to overcome them, And so, yeah, your quarterback's going to throw a pick from time to time. Yeah, he's going to make a bad play. Okay. How many interceptions did Peyton Manning throw? How many interceptions did John Elway throw? They threw picks. They took chances. They're trying to make plays. That's okay. But then on the other hand, you got to have a balanced team that then picks you up and makes the play that'll win it for you, And this Broncos defense, which is on paper a top 5 defense, and going into this season had a ton of people gassing them up and for good reason. I mean, fantastic players that played at a very high level last year. They got to find a way to get off the field against the Chargers, and they weren't able to do that. Now, Justin Herbert, you got to give credit to the Chargers. There's a really good team playing at a high level, really well coached with Jim Harbaugh. And Jim Harbaugh's got Sean Payton's number, doesn't he? I mean, he's beat him 6 out of 7 times those guys have played. So there's a lot of elements that go into it. I still think this is a relatively young team that the Broncos have, and they have a fairly inexperienced quarterback, especially when you're comparing him to Justin Herbert and what he's gone through. Justin Herbert faced his share of criticism too, right? Can't win the big game, blah, blah, blah. Well, now he seems to be rounding into form, but again, this is only 3 games deep. Like, nobody wins, they don't crown a team in September. And like, who had the best record in September in 2024, Phil? Do you remember?
Yeah. I want to say the Eagles. No.
No, they didn't actually. They started off like 0-2 or maybe 2-2. They were 2-4. They caught fire. So nobody's going to remember this time of year. It's just everyone's so excited about football that it means so much right now, and they blow things out of proportion. The Broncos are fine if they get back on track.
Okay, you said a lot there. I want to break down some of that stuff there. No, that was good. Yeah. I want to talk about the expectations for this team and some of the hype that was going into the season. But you brought up something there I thought was sort of interesting with Sean Payton and Jim Harbaugh. Like, I think we all know that the Walton Penner group wanted Jim Harbaugh to be the head coach, pursued him heavily. He ends up staying in Michigan. The Broncos hire Sean Payton.
Yeah.
What do you think that this has turned into here for Sean? Because it does seem like Jim Harbaugh has his number 0-3, the last 3 meetings here dating back to last year. Is this turning into something, I guess, Nate?
Well, I mean, I think, if you were to get inside Sean Payton's head, he certainly isn't too happy about it. I mean, he's in a division with some pretty excellent coaches. Now, he came to this division full well knowing that he was going to have to unseat the Chiefs and the best coach, or at least considered the best coach in the NFL for quite a while now, and Andy Reid. So he wants that. I think he wants that smoke. He wants to approach those sort of challenges, and, he's a very competitive guy. He wants to find a way to come out on top. Now, he just happens to find himself in the division now with Jim Harbaugh, a guy who's sort of been his kryptonite, right? And then Pete Carroll, also a really good coach. We'll see. He could turn around the Raiders. But they're stylistically so different as coaches. Yeah. I mean, Jim Harbaugh's not calling plays. He doesn't brand himself as some X's and O's genius. He doesn't do any of that. He's just the overseer of the whole football ethos. And he plays a pretty conservative, or at least coaches a pretty traditional conservative type of football team. Whereas Sean Payton, is trying to do something extra special. I mean, you saw that, some of these play calls that Sean dialed up that were really good. But then also there's a stifling of any sort of momentum on offense, and to me, an over complication of the game plan and too many personnel groups coming in. And here's a very basic example of that. If a running back gains 7 yards on first down, my instinct as a coach is to leave him out there and then call another play that's similar to that. Let's let him.
It's working.
But what you'll see with the Broncos all the time on first down, if they pick up 7 with J.K. Dobbins, he's running off the field.
Yeah.
With 3 and 4 new position players are coming on the field for a whole new package. I don't think players like that. I know they don't. Because it's complicated, it's busy work, you're running on and off, you're getting back in the huddle, you got to stand by the coach on the sideline and wait to hear your personnel group, and you got to remember which groups you're in versus the other ones, and you're also not letting a running back like J.K. Dobbins get going. I think that, Sean Payton got to figure out the Harbaugh problem for himself.
Yeah, why do you think he does these line changes? We've seen that disrupt the flow. The Broncos had to call timeout again with the play clock winding down. We thought that some of these operational issues were behind this Broncos team, but it still is popping up. And you're talking about a team that's struggling to find consistency on the offensive side of the ball, and they continue to do this. Like, why?
Well, I think it comes from a good place. The coaches like Sean Payton, who are, first of all, he's had a ton of success doing this, but he likes to find the edge. He likes to find where a defense is vulnerable, and he also likes to get his offensive players, try to put them in the best position for themselves. And so he has all these ideas on ways to do that, and it can kind of be overload, in my opinion. So he's like, oh, we have this running back and we like to do this with him, and we're going to do that on 2nd and 2 to 5. And so if we're in 2nd and 3, I like that play, so let's bring on this group where this guy can do this play that I like on 2nd and 3 versus this defense that we think is going to do this. And to me, that's too much. Players don't think like that. So there has to be a fine line between you putting him in the best position to succeed, but also you cutting him loose and letting him play. And so, he is considered an offensive genius for what he did in New Orleans. And I think that sort of stays with him, and he feels like he has to come up with a game plan and a group of packages that are going to support that moniker instead of doing something that's just kind of the simple, easy thing that players might respond to, which is let's just go attack with some simple stuff. To me, that stuff has a place in your game plan. I'd like to see it in the second half. Let's start the first half pretty basic and just go attack them.
Yeah. It's interesting because, you see the good and the bad when it comes to Sean Khan plays, because a few of those big deep balls that Bo just missed on, I mean, those guys are running wide open. The fourth down touchdown play, those guys are schemed open, and so you see some of that brilliance there. But at the same time, the Broncos are struggling to find this rhythm, and you're just sort of saying, okay, maybe it's time to just kind of get back to basics a little bit. And maybe, do you think that he did a lot of that last year, Nate? Just like trying to bring Bo along. At some point, you got to say, okay, we're going to try and just play football this way. But now maybe he feels like Bo's taking this step in terms of understanding the playbook, so he's putting more on him. Is that what's going on? A little bit of that?
I think there is a little bit of that. I think, there's also the declarations he made about how good Bo's going to be, how much he likes him. He's telling everybody in the media how that he made a great decision on this quarterback and they believe in him. And that's great. I mean, that's a good thing to feel. But when you start telling everyone about it, it's almost like you're making yourself have to prove it, right? Mm-hmm. And Bo's becoming, to me, he looks a little uncomfortable out there. I mean, his feet aren't set. He's kind of running into throws. He's running forward in the pocket as he's throwing and running himself into offensive linemen and defenders who are coming into him. And, you can hit a thumb on somebody's helmet there.
Yeah.
And, he doesn't look real comfortable. And so I think that you got to go back and think about ways to just make him feel comfortable. And the way you do that, in my opinion, is you hand the ball off and you just do very simple, quick passes. I mean, every quarterback I know likes throwing just the 3-step drop, quick slant, quick hitch, quick outs. Get it in their hands and let them run with the ball. That's what they get paid to do. Instead of doing these complicated, shifts, motions, play action passes, gadget plays, and getting personnel groups on and off. And then, the result of having a lot of personnel groups come on and off is the play clock ticks down. And so a guy like Bo, who's, wanting to maybe get to the line of scrimmage a little earlier so he can look at the defense and actually see what he's, think about what he's seeing, doesn't have that time to do that. By the time he gets to the line of scrimmage, it's 9, 8, 7. Oh, he's got to send a guy in motion. 6, 5. And also the defense is watching that clock too, and they know you got to snap it. So they're baby, and you can't work the snap count. You can't mess with them at all. I think that's putting Bo at a disadvantage.
Yeah, it does look like Bo is uncomfortable out there. I mean, I think you brought up a lot of good points there just about his feet aren't set a lot of the times when he's letting this thing rip. I thought that they were working on this, Nate. Like, I thought that, we heard him talk a lot about working out with Drew Brees this offseason. He's working out with these quarterback gurus that are, fixing some of these things. Like, I guess my big thing is that everybody is saying, okay, just calm down. He's just a second-year quarterback. Pump the brakes. Let him work through this. But that was not the conversation in the offseason and heading into the year, Nate. Yeah. Everybody was talking about how big of a jump we were going to see, and now we're just not seeing it.
Yeah, and you have to assess where he is despite your expectations for him and pull back anything that you thought was going to be the case and deal with reality. Where is Bo now? Yeah, he
Yeah.
went and saw Drew Brees. Yes, he saw this quarterback coach. Yes, he did all this stuff. Well, maybe that was too much, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe you filled his head with too much crap. You know,
Yeah.
it's like golf, you know, like you step up and you're trying to hit a golf ball. Well, if the coach is telling you all these things to think about at the same time, you're going to shank it, right? Because
Yep.
instead of just like relaxing and just swinging, Bo knows how to throw a football. He knows how to do a 3-5 step drop. He knows all this stuff. He's been doing it his whole life. Let's simplify it for him. Get out of his head with all this crap, and then kind of start ramping up based on that. I think that would be very helpful for Bo. But all this chatter about how he's going to be a top 5 quarterback and how he's going to take this huge leap, I don't think it's done him any favors.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think that that's helped him at all. Like, hey, you want to go work out with Drew? That's great. Maybe you don't need to tell everybody about it. Like
Exactly.
that's just sort of my perspective on it.
Exactly.
Just
And
let's
ultimately, like, what's Drew going to do? Like, what is Drew for you right now? I mean, maybe he can tell you a little bit about Sean Payton and how to deal with Sean and his expectations, and maybe there's a few bread and butter plays they like to do where you can have some kind of little tips from Drew Brees because he's done them so long. But every player is different, and I
yeah.
don't want Bo to feel some kind of sort of deference to these legends where it's like, oh, old holy one, Drew and Peyton, tell me what to do. No, man,
Yeah.
be yourself. Trust your own athletic ability. He's a very different quarterback from Bo Nix. Or, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
from Drew
Drew
Brees.
Brees. Yeah.
So find out who you are. I mean, I doubt Drew Brees was calling up Joe Montana or John Elway was calling
Yeah, exactly.
Art Starr and wanting to get like tips. Like you got to be yourself and find out where you fit in.
Yeah. We had Vic on last week, and he said the same thing like, hey, it's just like golf. You can't overthink this.
Yeah.
He also said another thing that was interesting. I'm curious what you think, because he said, I think Bo plays best when he's having fun out there.
Oh yeah.
And it doesn't look like he's having a lot of fun right now.
No, football's supposed to be fun, right? It was fun when you were playing it with your friends in high school and in college, and it's fun when you're winning, and it's fun when you have a coach who can kind of allow you to have fun. The problem with the expectations set by Sean Payton, and there's nothing wrong with high expectations in the room, in the locker room, and the standard of excellence. But when you start telling everyone in the national media, our Super Bowl window's opened, I've been on 6 Super Bowl kind of caliber teams, this is the 7th, like all that kind of stuff, it makes everybody a little bit tight. It makes it not much fun to go to work when things aren't going perfect and you don't look like a Super Bowl team. Broncos haven't looked like a Super Bowl team the last 3 weeks. You know how it is right now at the facility? It sucks. It
Yeah.
sucks. You can laugh and you can have fun unless Sean Payton and the staff are self-aware enough to understand what's happening there, that there is like sort of a negative energy happening and we got to push against it. A lot of coaches are. I remember in college we were losing a lot of close games. We were 2-4, and we should have felt like we should have been 6-0. And we came into practice one day, and everyone was feeling horrible about themselves. And our head coach Doug Cosby, who's former All-Pro tight end for the Cowboys back in the '80s, but he said, today we're not going to have football practice. We're going to normal. We're going to pick teams and play flag football against each other, but you have to play a different position than you usually play.
Okay, mix it. Yeah.
Receiver and all, and it was just super fun. It was really fun. We got back to basics, and we won the next 4 games to end the season. Like sometimes you just got to break the sort of negative energy and the tightness with which these guys are playing. The best, if they play free, they play better.
Those early 2000s teams that you were on had a lot of expectations. Like, how did Mike Shanahan approach those things?
Yeah, I think like Sean Payton, Mike Shanahan was so experienced that he kind of had a speech for anything that would happen in the year. Like if you went on a 3-game losing, well, we never went on a 3-game losing streak, but if you lost a close game, he'd know what to say. If you lost, if you got blown out, he'd have something to say. If you're 4 games into the season and you're 3-1, here's what we say. If you're 4 games into the season, we're 1-3. Here's what you say. So he was very experienced, kind of formulaic in that way, which I think towards the end of his tenure kind of started to, it's when you
people.
You hear the same message, it's the voice needs to change a little bit to get through to guys. But Sean Payton hasn't been here long enough to, I think, be having that effect on guys. The thing is, like, it can get to the point where you're focusing so much on the mistakes and guys are so like paranoid about fucking up and don't want to be yelled at or lose their job, that they play so tight. And really, like, that may make your practices go okay, because you're really doing, because practice is about like letting the coaches feel like the game plan is understood. But on game day, they got to cut loose. Like the game plan only takes you so far. You got to make plays beyond that. I mean, only half the time the play works out how you think it's going to work out. The other half of the time, you gotta have guys connected with their athleticism and can go make plays in spite of a bad play call. So are you unleashing these guys and getting them ready for those moments? I think Sean Payton is. He's a really smart coach, and I think he'll get it figured out.
Yeah, it's almost like you want to know the game plan so well that come game day, you're not thinking, you're just reacting and just playing and being loose.
Yeah, and the problem is that with some of these really brilliant offensive coaches, they'll come up with something on Thursday night that they want to install on Friday, and then like that they haven't done Wednesday or Thursday, or some wrinkle that, and then they put a bunch of stuff in the guy's mind on the last day of practice, or maybe even on Saturday morning. We want to go walk through this one thing that we think that is going to work, and then like, okay, so you're spending a lot of energy trying a couple things that you think are going to work or working on, and then guess what? You get in the game, you try it in the first quarter, and it gets stuffed and then you got to realize, so we wasted all that time. And now we're not going to do any of it, or we're going to try it again, knowing it's probably not going to work again. So there's this thing about like what you want to work versus what is working. And sometimes things that are working are the simplest things, like hand the ball to J.K. Dobbins, on a wide zone play and let him go, because he's playing passionate football and he's got the juice. He's been our most productive player. To me, I mean, the way you start off a game is you give it to J.K. Dobbins and you throw some balls to Cortland Sutton on some quick passes to get the momentum going, and then you go from there.
Yeah. Just let's get on a roll here to start and just feel comfortable. And a good way to do that is get the ball to your best players. It doesn't have to be harder than that.
Yeah.
Nate, you're talking about like playing tight and feeling those expectations. It's like, it's weird because you're already sort of starting to look at the schedule and be like, okay, you got the Eagles coming up, then you're heading to London, and then there's some games you should win. Then it's going to get harder. It's weird because things are so tight, especially in the AFC, that you're starting to look at it and be like, okay, maybe the division isn't in grasp anymore already, or like, it's just weird how like it's only week 4, but you're already starting to think like, hey, the Broncos sort of have to win this game, don't they?
Yes, but they can't be thinking really like that. They can't be thinking about the schedule. I mean, if you're doing things right and you're on an NFL team, every game is a winnable game, and you approach every game as just as important as the next. Now, certainly divisional opponents are more important because of the home field advantage that you get if you win the division, and the fact you play them twice, and those 6 of your games are in division against division opponents. But some of the teams that you think are going to suck are actually going to play really well, and some of the teams that you think are going to be great are actually going to be bad that day. So you can't really look at the schedule as like, oh, here's our easy stretch of the schedule, we get a break here. No, you cannot. I mean, the Tennessee Titans came in here and almost beat the Broncos, right? The Colts with Danny Dimes, everybody's laughing stock, is now 3-0. And so nothing happens the way you think it's going to happen. And so you have to be prepared to get everyone's best shot every game, and prepared like you're, playing the Super Bowl every week. And if you do that, you stick to your routine. Each week is, an island in and of itself, and you do it the right way, and it results in a win. Then you get emboldened by it. And then the next week you come out with confidence that you're going to do that again. The Broncos need to find a way to win one of these close ones, and really step on someone's throat at the end, make a play to win the game, and walk off feeling like you did that as a team. And now we have that under our belt, and we can walk into next week with more confidence when the fourth quarter comes around.
Yeah. They have not, this team has not beaten a team like that, to feel that sort of energy or that confidence, maybe, because last year, the only team they beat that finished with a winning record is the Bucks. This year, it hasn't materialized yet. So, like, maybe they do just need to turn that corner, get one of those wins, and then they can feel a little bit better about themselves. But, yeah, it does feel like, like a lot of people are saying, like, don't compare Bo Nix to Justin Herbert or Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, those guys just yet. But it does feel like when you're talking about this team and them taking that next step in terms of, like, growth for the whole team, you're talking about either winning the division or winning a playoff game. And to do those things, they're going to have to beat those kind of quarterbacks. So I don't know. It's weird. Like almost inside the building, they cannot be thinking like that, but outside the building,
Yeah.
of course, that's all we're thinking about.
Yeah. And to me, like, you're going to have a hard time beating those kind of quarterbacks if you can't put up points on the offensive side. You're going to give up points. I mean, the Broncos held the Chargers to 23. That's not bad.
Yeah.
The Broncos offense had 7 3-and-outs. You got to find a way to move the ball to keep your defense off the field. They're a good defense, but they can't hold up forever.
80 plays.
80 plays. Yeah, way too many. I mean, they still got to, they hit Justin Herbert like 15 or 16 times. They got 5 sacks. I mean, they were getting after him. They just weren't able to make the big play when they needed it, but also didn't get any help from the offense. And then really good football teams have balance, and so sometimes the offense isn't playing great and the defense need to pick them up, and sometimes vice versa. But the good teams find a way to win at the end there, whether it's Bo Nix making a play, whether it's the defense making a play, or whether it's the special teams coming up with a big play. I mean, that's what the good teams do. It's like nobody's waiting around for the other guy to make a play. Everyone on the team feels like they could be the guy who makes a play to win it for the team. And I think that's when your teams are the best. When it's not like, oh, we need Cortland to make a play right now to win it for us. Like, he's our only hope. No, maybe it could be Lucas Kroll who comes up with the game-winning touchdown. Or Jaleel McLaughlin gets a suit up and he has a 60-yard run for a touchdown. Like, where are those moments for these Broncos where everybody feels connected to that moment and it becomes contagious, right? Everyone wants to be the guy to make that play. And so sometimes when you're thinking so much and the offense is so pedantic and like, you got to be in the right spot, then guys don't feel connected to that playmaking ability that got them here in the first place.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned Jaleel there. Nate, it did feel like this offseason they tried to address some of these playmaker issues and get some help for Bo Nix. But yet we're here heading into game 4, and it feels like the same exact issues for this Broncos offense in terms of, hey, there's Cortland Sutton and there's nobody else really out there. Like Evan Ingram has not really made an impact. He's dealt with this a couple of injuries already. Yeah. Like, what is this Broncos offense going to do? Like, who's going to step up and make that play?
I think J.K. Dobbins is your running back that you want to lean on right now. I think R.J. Harvey's a great change of pace, and he'll be available there. I do think Lucas Kroll has the body, the physical talents to be a productive tight end. If Evan Ingram can't be that guy, throw the ball to Lucas Kroll more. Give him some opportunities to go high point the ball. As far as receivers go, you have some playmakers. You got Cortland, you got Marvin Mims. Troy Franklin's coming into his own a little bit. We haven't seen what Pat Bryant can do. But I think there's plenty of guys to make plays out there. They've been doing it their whole lives. To me, it's about unlocking them. It's about, giving them the opportunity to catch the ball and run with it. I mean, let's not overthink this thing. I mean, these guys are football players. They know what to do with the ball in their hands. You got to get them to feel connected to that. And like I said, it's contagious when these guys start making plays and rallying around one another. And, if you take the opening kickoff down the field on a 12-play touchdown drive, it's amazing how the rest of the game unfolds. But if the very first series is no gain, incompletion, punt, what are we doing here? Guys come off and they're like, all week long we've been preparing to do and they didn't work. And now where are we? And so guys already start getting down in the tank a little bit, like the coaches I used to play for, Mike Shanahan, and kind of the West Coast sort of process is to script the first 15 plays of every game. Yeah. And those first 15 plays are usually like the things we want to do today, right? We don't know if they're all going to work, but we're going to try these in the first 15 and see how they react to it defensively. And if they can't cover it, they look lost, we'll go back to it. We'll do that again. But if it's something that just didn't work, didn't feel right, let's cross that off the list. We're information gathering here and doing some of our basic things to do so. It doesn't seem like, Sean Payton has that sort of same philosophy. I mean, like a couple games ago, they threw the ball 16 out of the first 20 plays. I mean, that can't be how you scripted it. There's no way you sat down and put it down the first 15 and had 12 of them be passes. I don't think he wouldn't have done that. So he's clearly like going off his script and his plan. I mean, every time at halftime when the reporter sticks a mic up in his face, he's like, yeah, we got to run more. Okay. Writing run it on his play sheet. Like, he knows what he should be doing, but his tendency is to lean away from that. I know that he said there's some RPOs, and that's the reason why, because it's a run-pass option, and Bo has chosen to pass it. Well, the way you change that is you just don't call the RPO. You just call it run. And run.
There's a solution to this, yeah.
And so ultimately, though, Sean Payton knows more about football than all of us do, and he has a muscle memory of being really, really excellent in the NFL and putting up some crazy numbers. I mean, during his
Yeah.
tenure in New Orleans, no one put up more touchdowns than he did. It was like a fireworks show every year. So I think it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks.
Yeah, yeah. Even like I remember that Saints game last year on Thursday night. They just came out firing. Guys are
Yeah,
wide open. Boom, touchdown. They were rolling. So when
yeah,
it is working, it works really well. But
yeah.
when it's not, it is tough. Like he brought up the third downs and saying like how they were in third and long a lot of times, and
Oh yeah,
they got to be better. It's like, hey, you start with 1st and 10.
yeah,
There's a way to kind of prevent that from happening.
right,
So
right.
that penalties, yeah, it's just something just feels a little bit off right now, and maybe they can get back to basics and get it going. Just a couple more about the Broncos here for you. uh, Dre Greenlaw, this guy was supposed to come in and make a huge impact
Yeah,
at the inside linebacker position. Him and Ingram, really, the thought coming in was like, hey, these guys could be good if they can stay healthy. Both really unable to go here for the Broncos just yet. How big of a concern is the inside linebacker position? You see opposing teams really making Alex Singleton really get out to the perimeter and
yeah.
guard some of these guys with speed. Is this a concern for you? And do we think that teams are going to be attacking that position a little bit more now?
Yeah, definitely a little bit of a concern. I mean, if I was an offense and I was scouting, watching these games, I certainly would try to do that. I think it's up to Vance to, again, the same way we are talking about with Bo, not putting him in positions that are making him uncomfortable right now and trying to do things that make him successful. Well, same thing with Alex Singleton. I mean, maybe don't put him in man coverage on those guys when they're right in the backfield like that. I don't know how you would scheme it up. I mean, you want to be able to run man coverage. That's the thing. Like,
Yeah,
if I'm in man and that's my guy, I got to run with him. I mean, but Alex Singleton's not like a slow, lumbering middle linebacker. I mean, he's a good athlete. He can run,
yeah,
but he is coming off an ACL. He's probably not fully back to his normal speed yet in reaction. I think he'll get there maybe midway through the season, but he's on the other side of 30, right? Coming off an ACL. When we talk about Dre Greenlaw, I mean, just from the start, it's kind of been his quad, I think, popped on the very first day of off-season training. And
yeah,
so he came in here with an issue with his body. And the first day of off-season training is like just running and lifting, and it's not hard. I mean, the strength coach is trying to see where you guys are at. He's not trying to kill everyone on the first day. So the fact that Dre Greenlaw had an injury on that day shows you that there's something wrong with his body.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I think there's this weird psychological thing going on where it's like we had such high hopes for him, similar to the Bo thing, where it's like you have so much high hopes for him, you gave him so much money, now we got to use him. And
yeah,
so I think all along Dre's injury has been for some reason downplayed by members of the media who are connected and get sources in the building who tells him it's not a big deal. He's going to be fine. I was hearing this from day one about Dre's quad. It's no big deal. He'll be ready
yeah.
for
It's
mini
fine.
camp. And then, no. I mean, he'll be ready for the start of training camp. And then, no. It's not a big deal. He'll be ready for game one. And now he's on IR. And so,
Yeah,
and I know they're trying to do what's best for him right now, not put pressure on him. But his body is screwed up, and he plays the game at a pace that most don't. I mean, he's so explosive and fast, and his body has to respond to that quick twitch. And when it starts to fail you, I mean, I've been there. It's one thing after the other. It's like a chain reaction. And it's like
yeah,
your soft tissue just doesn't want to cooperate with what you're asking it to do. And so they really need to take their time with Dre Greenlaw. And I hope for his sake, just as a man, as a human being who puts so much into this. I mean, he moves his family out here. This is
yeah.
like, this is his chance to really plant his flag in the league, and then he's got to deal with this injury. It's a bummer for everyone.
Yeah, almost a good thing that he's on IR now. Like, remove the pressure of trying to get back each week and just say,
Yeah,
"Look, you're done for 4 weeks. Sit down. Let's just get you right here." And if the Broncos do take care of business here over the next few weeks, then when he's ready to come back, that's when they'll really need him. So,
yeah,
I do think that was a good move there. Okay, last one on the Broncos. What do you think happens here? Because it's Monday Night Football. You got the Eagles coming up. You
yeah,
lost 2 in a row here. Luckily, not having to face Burrow, but this is still a Bengals team that's coming off of an embarrassing loss to the Vikings. They're going to be eager to prove something.
yeah.
How do you think this thing plays out?
Yeah, an important point you just made. I mean, the Bengals are coming off of an embarrassing loss, and these are professional football players who have pride, who have professional integrity, who are going to try to get the ship corrected, ship back on course, and prove that we can do this without Joe Burrow. Now, I think that the offense will still probably be sputtering a bit. The backup quarterback comes in. It takes him several weeks to get the timing down. I mean, he's not really taking any snaps at practice. Those are all Joe Burrow snaps, and so he's got to fall in and create that timing with the guys that he hasn't been taking that many reps with. So I think it's going to take several weeks, and so the Broncos are still catching him early in that process. But my light's about to fall. Hopefully, it doesn't.
Oh.
Yeah. But I think the Broncos are going to take care of business. I think they understand the imperative there. They're going to be at home. It's going to be, Monday night. It's going to be a loud crowd, a lot of optimism there. But at the same time, I've been on teams with the Broncos when expectations were high and we go 3-and-out in the first couple of series. All of a sudden you hear boos. It's like, what?
Yeah.
What's going on here? So,
yeah.
And so a lot of Broncos fans expect offensive explosions. That's what we've come to expect. The Elway days, even Jake Plummer days, but especially the Peyton Manning days. This is about putting up points and scoring touchdowns. And when you're not doing that and it just looks ugly, you can lose the crowd there, and then it starts to feel weird. So I really hope the Broncos can move the ball in that first quarter, put up some points, and create a little gulf there, and just lean on these Bengals and attack that quarterback with Nick Bonito and these defensive guys just teeing off.
Yeah. You got a backup quarterback in there. Make him feel uncomfortable all night, and good things are probably going to happen for that defense. So, okay, couple of quick hitters here before we say goodbye. Okay, this is called Phil's 5. Okay, what was your favorite away stadium in the NFL?
Ooh, favorite away stadium. This is probably going to be a weird one, but it was Oakland. I mean, it was a crap stadium. It wasn't a good stadium, but I was going home because I'm from the Bay Area. I grew up in San Jose. I was a 49er fan as a kid, and it was always this Raiders 49er rivalry. And so I got to go back home, fly in over the Bay Area and see my land down there, and have all my friends and family come to Oakland and watch us beat the Raiders. That's what I always enjoyed.
I always found that the guys in the black hole were nice. Like they'd chat with you, and I thought that, they present scary, but I think that they're nicer than people think. So, okay, what was your favorite part about being a professional football player? Oh, sorry. No,
you were down there in the black hole, Phil?
Oh yeah. I mean, down on the field there, and then during timeouts or whatever, or pregame, you go talk to the gorilla a little, see what he thinks. So
you go take a beer bong up there with him, Phil.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Hey, it's halftime. You gotta, relax a little. So
when in Rome, right?
Exactly. Okay. Sorry. Next one. What was your favorite part about being a professional football player?
It was the competition every day, just having to be your best every day, or else you're gone. There was no half stepping. There was no, I don't feel that good today. I don't know if I can do this. And it really connected me with a part of myself that I really valued, that sort of excellence that I had to live up to every day. And that standard of excellence that exists in that world, I think, is something that you don't find anywhere. It was pretty exhilarating for me and kept things at a high energy level. Always having to be your best no matter what. I miss that.
Yeah, and playing some of those guys on the defense in practice that you went up against, you had to bring it.
Yeah, Champ Bailey and John Lynch and all those, and Al Wilson. I mean,
yeah.
You
don't want to be messing around out there. Yeah. This might be. Oh, you lost the light, man. I knew that was going to happen.
All right, we're good.
No, you're back. Okay. This might be an interesting one for you. I'm curious, at what point in your life were you like, I think I got a shot at this, to make it to the NFL? Like, I'm assuming they happened a little bit later, but what was that moment like where you were like, okay, I'm going to go for this. I'm going to see what happens here.
Yeah. So when I was a kid, I wanted it, of course, like a lot of kids, but then that's like it's a little kid dream. You're writing it in your elementary school, workbook. I want to play for the 49ers when I grow up. But then my parents wouldn't let me play football until I got to high school. So that dream kind of got in the back seat a little bit. And then my first couple of years of high school football were tough. I hadn't hit puberty yet. I'm getting absolutely smashed. I'm playing running back, just getting teed off on. Wasn't until varsity that I started playing receiver, but I didn't get recruited at all in college. I got cut by my first school I walked onto, and then I transferred to a D3 school. When I transferred to the D3 school, Menlo College, it immediately clicked into place. I put up some big numbers in my first year, but my second year really started to take off. And I was leading the nation in catches and all this. And my coach, who had played in the NFL and had known what it was like, pulled me up into his office and said, Nate, you can do this. You can play in the NFL. I've been there. I know that. And so we're going to make that happen. And I walked out of that office thinking, okay, it's on now. You know what I mean? And then the next season, Bill Walsh used to come to our games, but he was at a game on the sideline when a USA Today reporter was doing a story on me, and Bill said the same thing to this USA Today reporter, that he could play at the highest level, and he reminds him of Ed McCaffrey and all that stuff. And so once that happened, it was in motion for me, and I was, tunnel vision on that goal.
Wow, Bill Walsh said that. I mean, that must have just taken you to you must have been on cloud nine after that.
Yeah, he was a hero of mine. I grew up a 49er fan, and then all of a sudden I transferred to this tiny school, and Bill Walsh was watching our games on the sidelines. And so he was a consultant with the 49ers. I got signed to the 49ers out of Menlo College, largely because of Bill Walsh. When it wasn't working out with the Niners, Bill picked up the phone and called Mike Shanahan and said, will you take a look at this kid? And he said, sure, come bring him out. And I was on a plane the next day because of Bill Walsh. And then when Bill Walsh passed away in the middle of I think it was 2007 training camp, Mike Shanahan was in the middle of training camp. He wasn't going to leave his team, but he sent John Lynch and I on a private plane to go to Bill Walsh's funeral at Stanford. It was a pretty classy move by Coach Shanahan, and it meant a lot to me.
Oh, that's a cool story. I didn't know that. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious, like some of my friends, their kids are like starting to play a lot of flag football. They're starting to play a little bit more, and kids their age are like starting to play tackle football. I'm curious, what do you think about that? Like, do you think that waiting until high school is a good move for parents, or what do you think?
My son is 5.5, so I'm having these conversations with my wife. I don't foresee him playing anytime soon. Mm. It's tough because, you don't want to put your kids through that trauma. And if you have a bad coach and they're wanting all these hitting drills, these guys are cracking heads at 8, 9, 10 years old. I mean, is that really good for the developing brain? My answer would be no there. But at the same time, so many kids, like when I started playing in high school as a freshman, I was behind the other kids. They'd been playing for a couple of years. And so technically I was, lagging behind them. And it took me a couple of years to get back on their level just because they've been doing it for a while. Well, now that's even more intense and extreme. These kids have been playing, since 8. They have private coaches. They're like so into it, and they've been doing it so hard that, like, if you wait till high school for your kid, are they even gonna catch up, or are they gonna be left behind? I think maybe flag football starting in middle school would be adequate enough, and not doing the tackle until you got to high school.
Yeah. I remember talking to Steve Atwater one time, and he said that like his kids were playing tackle football, and he went to like check out a practice one time, and they were doing like these crazy drills. And he's like, what are you guys doing? Like, like this is not helping you, And so if Steve's saying that, that means something. So yeah, I was just curious, sort of what you thought about that.
That's it's a tough conversation to have.
Yeah.
If kids fall in love with it, you want to let them do what they love, but also you want to protect them. So I think you got to figure it out with your family and come up with a decision.
Yeah. And even now, like kids are, like you mentioned, again, so specialized earlier and earlier and earlier. They're not playing all the sports that they love. It's just sort of a weird, I think it's tough being a parent with sports these days.
Yeah, I agree.
It feels like it. So, okay. What's your favorite team away from football? Like, what's your team that you're just a fan of? You're not like covering them. You're not doing all this. You're just sort of like, I like watching this team.
Yeah, I feel bad saying this in Denver, but the Golden State Warriors. I grew up a Warriors fan. The Tim Hardaway, Chris Mullin, Mitch Richmond days back in the day. Yeah. And then Latrell Sprewell and Chris Webber were there for a while, and those guys. But now, I mean, they're incredible, and Steph Curry's incredible, and the kind of basketball they played over the last decade has been something inspiring. So I say outside of football, it's the Warriors.
Yeah, Steph changed the game. I mean, all the kids want to be Steph, shooting the three. So that's cool. That's a good answer. Well, hey, Tim Hardaway Jr., he's a Nugget now, so you can have a reason to.
There's that connection. Yeah, no, I like the Nuggets too, man. I mean, it's hard not to appreciate what the Nuggets do and Nikola Jokic. I mean, it's pretty incredible. Yeah, it's hard when they play each other. Who do I?
Yes. Okay, last one for you here. What do you do at the end of a hard day to like just relax and zone out a little bit? The kids are asleep. You got a little bit of time here to just chill out before the end of the day. Are you watching TV? Are you watching your favorite show? Like, what are you doing?
You really want to know, Phil?
Yeah. Don't scare me, but I'm interested.
Good show. No, I mean, maybe just relax with a little bit of music, maybe a little smoke in the air,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah, of course.
a little something in the glass, not too much. Yeah, a nice book.
Yep.
It feels like as a parent, we don't have the brain, like the bandwidth to start a show, like to have a
Yeah,
series.
it is hard. It's a
I'm
commitment.
I'm
Yeah,
like,
it's like,
I don't, I could watch 10, 15 minutes of it and I'd be asleep. Like by the time
uh
to try to get them to sleep early, but they really, I'm not walking out of those rooms until 9:30, and it's like, geez, man,
it's tough.
it's like wrestling a marlin onto the boat. These kids trying to get him down, So,
Yeah,
yeah, if I got a little bit of time, maybe flipping some channels, but a little smoke in the air, a little music, and
yeah.
yeah.
Do you do the gummies or anything like that? Or you're just
No,
purely
no
just, yeah,
flour. Yeah,
got it.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm not a
okay.
gummy guy because the gummies, man, they take a long time to kind of activate, and then they last a long time too.
Uh,
A lot more than just fumigating it, combusting it with fire,
yeah.
and that kind of
And you
thing.
got to be ready to go in the morning, man. You
Yeah,
got those
exactly.
kids are up, so you
It's
got,
easier
yeah,
for me to kind of moderate the doses and things when you see exactly how much is in your hand, and versus the gummies,
yeah.
you never know what's in there. I mean, yeah, you can find these good companies and you feel good about it, but I've never been a gummy edible guy.
Okay, okay. And Jake, ever get you on the mushrooms or anything like that? Those things help for you?
Yeah, the functional mushrooms, the umbo
Yeah,
product that he has. He has some pills at night that help you
yeah,
sleep. Some morning like alertness, brain stuff, and
yeah,
cordyceps and reishi and chaga and all these lion's mane and all these mushrooms that he's pretty passionate about. I've learned a lot about it,
yeah.
and no, I feel pretty good when I take those.
Yeah, he's talked to me a lot about it. So, like, yeah,
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 he's definitely really passionate about it. So,
he is. He is.
yeah, yeah. All right, Nate. Well, hey, I appreciate you, man. I love your insight on ball and what about the Broncos here. I always feel like I learned something talking to you, so I really appreciate it. And it's just always fun catching up. So I really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thanks, Phil, and I appreciate what you do. I'm glad to see you're in your second year, right, with this
Yep,
podcast.
yep. Year two of the pod. Yeah, we're
And
growing. So
you're holding it down even with fatherhood. So maybe I'll see you at the park, okay?
yeah, of course, man. Hey, best of luck. We got to take care of these kids. You know, they're the future,
Yeah,
so it's a big responsibility.
it is, man.
So
You
yeah,
gotta move
it's a
forward.
lot, man. So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think about that a lot. You know, I'm like, God, this is my most important role. So
it is, man.
yeah,
Sometimes you want to turn away from it or pick up your phone, but you got to do the hard work. You got to stay in those moments and
yeah,
never let up, because at some point they're going to be out of the house and it's going to be quiet, man. And you're going to wish
yeah.
they were back. So
Because
keep
so
fighting the good
fast.
fight, man. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, I'll see you at the park, man. Okay. Be well, and best of luck with everything with Gorilla too. So I
thanks, Phil.
appreciate it.
Appreciate you, man.
My thanks to Nate Jackson for spending some time on the program here. Always really enjoy his football knowledge, and I always feel like I learned something new here talking to Nate. You know, good stuff on Bo Nix and Sean Payton. How just maybe making something a little bit simpler on the offense in terms of a game plan can just really help this team gain some confidence, gain some momentum, particularly early on in the game. So appreciate Nate's insight there. And hey, what a heck of a Bill Walsh story, huh? I love it when somebody like Bill Walsh can identify something in a young player that nobody else sees and then can become such a big advocate and help their career come along. I just love hearing stories like that. And, you know, obviously, Bill Walsh, an important person there for Nate moving forward, as is Mike Shanahan. I mean, these two figures really helped get his career going. And so just a cool story. I like hearing things like that. So if you enjoyed the conversation there with Nate, please like and subscribe as we continue to grow the Broncos and Bourbon channel. I got a couple of thoughts on this game here as well. I just think that this Broncos offense, but look, Bo Nix is too talented to continue to play like this, and so I think that something's just a little bit off with that side of the ball. That maybe it is just getting off to a hotter start and getting some confidence. That'll help them play with more fun, more energy. You know, football's a funny game that when things aren't going well, it could be so frustrating and it could just continue to make things worse and worse and worse. But when things are going well, it could become so fun and contagious that it gets better and better and better and better. So things can start to snowball on either end in the game of football. So maybe just one game where things flip and this offense gets rolling, boom, that could set them off on a completely different track. And that could be this game with the Bengals here, because they got whooped up by the Vikings last week. As they, that happens sometimes when you lose a huge star like Joe Burrow, the guy you think is going to take you to the promised land that season. When you lose a guy like that, it can be so deflating that it carries into the next week. I expect a much better Bengals team this week as they sort of got that one out of their system. So this should be a pretty good game. But obviously, the Broncos need to take care of business without Joe Burrow there. This is a game that the Broncos definitely need to win. As far as more talk here about Bo, I think there's two things to consider here, and it's interesting how you weigh them when you think about him. On one hand, I agree with a lot of people who say, look, this is just 3 games into his second year. Okay, you don't want to go riding off anybody right now and pushing them out of town. I'm not talking about anything like that. I agree that I tend to think that teams overreact too quick with quarterbacks, and most quarterbacks, I heard Tom Brady talking about this, they need more time because they're just not receiving the coaching that is necessary to be able to play the game at a high level in the NFL. Tom Brady had some really interesting thoughts a couple of weeks ago on Colin Cowherd's show, if you're interested in looking that up. But, I think that one of the things that Bo has had the fortune of is coaching, and the consistency there on the offensive side that I think that he's been surrounded by all the same people here from his rookie year into the second year. So that is a huge advantage for Bo. But in general, I agree that, hey, these guys need time to develop and work on their game, and they need to be afforded some patience there. And Bo certainly has shown enough on the field to have earned more time here before you pass any sort of final judgment on him. I think the issue with Bo that they've run into here is the expectations that were set coming into this season. And Bo, it's not just what Sean Payton said about trying to win the Super Bowl and the talent on this team. Bo has sort of fed into some of this himself, putting out the workout video and talking about how much he trained this offseason, and talking about working out with Drew Brees, and just that as a rookie, you're trying to not look like an idiot. And now as in your second year, you're really working on trying to perfect your craft, and talking about how he was ranked in the top 100, NFL top 100 by his peers, and that was an honor, but it wasn't good enough because he wants to be the best in the entire NFL. It was just a lot of high talk from a guy heading into his second year. And look, you want that confidence and you want him to say those kind of things, but maybe privately. Publicly facing, I am a big advocate for just saying, you know what? We're all trying to work as hard as we can. We're all trying to just take that next step every day here, try to get better. This is a team sport, and I'm just trying to play my part. The boring stuff. I like that coming from my second-year quarterback. And I was just surprised that Bo sort of fed into some of these expectation talks. And so I think when you do that, and it doesn't go that way the first 3 weeks, I think that, and when you play the quarterback position, it comes with it too. Some of the criticism is fair, okay? And so nobody's trying to ride him off into the sunset yet. Nobody's trying to, push him out of town. None of that kind of talk. But I think that it's okay to approach this situation and say, look, it hasn't been pretty these first 3 weeks. There's a lot of season left. Let's get this thing back on track here. Let's start taking it more slowly. Let's put the division talk. Let's put the Super Bowl talk. Let's put that on the back burner, and let's just focus on going week by week and simplifying the game plan and building confidence that way. I think that all can be right here in the world of the Broncos offense, because if you do look at the schedule here, after that Eagles game, there's an opportunity for this team to really go on a roll, and they could easily be 7-3. And when you're sitting at 7-3 in the NFL, things feel pretty darn good. So this Broncos team has got a long way to go. I think that Sean Payton said something about learning how to win, or he said something along those lines. He's like, don't ask me that right now. Ask me that at the end of the season. I think that that's really smart. And I do think that this team has a long way to go, but luckily there's still a lot of football to be played. But I think that your concern level is, hey, he's still a young quarterback, but if this Broncos team really does want to take that next step this season, there's some concern there. And I think that it is warranted by how they've played compared to the talk coming into this season. And look, is it fair to compare Bo Nix to Josh Allen to Justin Herbert? No. Those guys have been in the league a lot longer. But if you do want to say that this Broncos team is going to take that step, that means, okay, are they going to win the division? That means they've got to get by Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes. Okay, that's what that means. Are they going to win a playoff game? That means that you're going to have to beat a Lamar Jackson or a Josh Allen. Or who knows, maybe Joe Burrow comes back in December and the Bengals have done enough to hang around and they get into the playoffs. Maybe you're going to have to beat a guy like Joe Burrow. So look, if the Broncos eventually want to get to where they want to get, they're going to have to beat an elite quarterback. And to do that, you're probably going to need a little bit more from the Broncos offense. So let's just put it there. Let's just leave it at that and say that I don't think even I think that inside that building, they know they've got some work to do. They've got to be better on the offensive side of the ball. It starts with your leaders. It starts with Bo Nix, and he knows that. And I think that this Broncos team can turn things around, and they're going to have to do this with some urgency here, though. Now, sitting at 1-2, having lost to a division game, having lost to the Colts, they're going to have some urgency now, and they're going to. This is about as much of a must-win game as you can say in Week 4 of the season. And look, it's a big-time game. The Eagles are coming up. It's Monday Night Football. You're back at home. The crowd's going to be fired up. Go out and score on that first drive. Get the momentum going and squash a Bengals team early. And if you could do that and take away hope, then you can start to feel good about yourself and get a big-time win here. So let's see what the Broncos are able to do. I think that they beat this team, and I think that they start to feel a little bit better after a big Monday night game. And, they're just going to have to do it, too, because the alternative is that is not good. The alternative would mean 3 straight losses heading into a game with the Eagles. Not a place the Broncos want to be. You want to win this game, get back to 500, start feeling better about yourself, and see if maybe you can pull off an upset against the Eagles, and then who knows. So that's where you want to be coming out of this Bengals game. Okay, no bourbon review this week. Well, I'll be back next week with a bourbon review for sure. If there's a bottle that you want me to review, please let me know and leave that comment, and I'll get it as long as it's reasonable. And we'll review that and get the bourbon part of this show back rocking and rolling here coming up next week. Okay. If you like the show, please like and subscribe. We're growing the channel here. We're getting this thing rolling. We're bringing great guests like Nate Jackson every week. So please like and subscribe and spread the word about this show. Okay, that's going to do it for us. I did want to mention we will be live Monday after the game. So after you watch Monday Night Football, turn on your YouTube and switch your channel here to Broncos and Bourbon, because we'll have all the analysis and post-game reaction that you can handle. So please check out the show after Monday Night Football. Okay, that's going to do it for us. For Broncos and Bourbon, I'm Phil Milani.